Hello everyone, my name is Leon and welcome to this video about case narratives. It's building on to the module about narrative debate as a whole. So before I actually dive into the nuances of case narratives, I just wanted to clarify that you might not need a very strong case narrative for every single round. And what I mean by this is that this video as a whole is more dedicated to the idea of how to strengthen your case narrative on a lay judge, a judge that is less familiar with debate, like a parent or a college student who didn't do debate in high school. So take this video as you will. I would suggest using it to strengthen your cases for more lay-oriented rounds. But in rounds with like tech judges, I would say that it might not be as necessary. With that, I think the case narrative, to strengthen a case narrative, it's sort of broken down into two parts. The first is the introduction to your case, and the second is the case itself. So, like the contentions would be the case itself. The introduction is just like a general thing that you would say before you even say something like we affirm, we negate, or the resolution as a whole. It could be something very brief, or it could be something like a paragraph or two long. It really depends on how your case is structured. What I mean by this is the introduction is meant to sort of frame your case. It's like a maybe a short summary of what your argument is about. For example, if you're reading a case about medical healthcare access on the topic about Medicare for all, your introduction could be something as simple as to provide a future for all Americans, we affirm the resolution. Or it could be something like if you're reading a sole contention about medical access, you could read your uniqueness. You could say, like, every year people die due to lack of access. The number is increasing every single year, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z. The reason why I think an introduction could be very beneficial, especially in front of lay oriented judges, is because it sort of gives them this like story, like the background to the story before your actual argument. And this might seem a bit counterintuitive since you would probably read the same evidence, read the same arguments, just structure it in a contention. I think that by structuring it as a general introduction before you even read the resolution, it sort of allows them to like process things before they even like hear the contention. The reason why is because when they hear like contention one or sole contention right as you jump into it, that sort of rushes them into getting into the mode of like, okay, this is their argument. When you sort of say it before you even say we affirm, it allows them to sort of have that like bias in their head, like that, like, oh wow, like things are gonna happen. How does this team plan to solve it? That sort of thing is why I think an introduction can be useful. So then the second part is obviously your case. And like I'm not going to teach you how to write contentions since I think that that's what is like commonly known as people enter debate. But I think that there's some special things like nuances that you can include in this contention to really strengthen this narrative. The first thing that can really help you in the back half of the round and really help you in the speeches after constructive is by setting up an early argument comparison, opportunities for argument comparison, like a historical example or like some stuff that can be used potentially for weighing, especially Lincoln's or prerequisites, even time frame weighing, for example. If you can find evidence that says that like X will lead to Y, then that would set you up for a nice prerequisite if your opponents read an argument similar to that in their speech. You could also read things like this impact is very long term, so overall more people are affected. That could all be things that you read that can help you strengthen your narrative in the case as well as in your future speeches. Additionally, I think something that can also strengthen your case is by including any potential preemptive responses to arguments against your case. And this doesn't mean like just say like, oh, my opponents might say, because that's redundant. You can do that in rebuttal and summary. This is like to just include more nuances, more examples, like statistics, for example, that can respond to any common arguments against your case. For example, if they read this response against your case that your case already responds to, in your summary speech or in the speech in which you respond to this response, you could simply just say like, oh, they never addressed this part of our case, which makes things A, more simple for you, and B, it gives you more credibility since it shows that your argument is very nuanced and your opponent probably mishandled it. So those are just some like short things about case nuances. There's a lot of things you can do in cases that can extend into future speeches, which will be discussed later.